Hi everyone, welcome to Turkish Spotlight Secrets. Settle in, because everything you need to know is right here in this video. If the story speaks to you, tap like and subscribe, and if you want to support us even more, the join button is just below. Thank you for being here. Now, let's watch what truly happened. Over the last few days, an unexpected tempest tore through the Turkish entertainment world. A wave of malicious whispers rose against Hazal, an actress cherished not only for her work but for the candid honesty she carries off-screen. The calm rhythm of summer was pierced in an instant as rumor morphed into spectacle. Suddenly, a narrative that had no solid ground seemed to sprint across the internet. What startled fans most wasn't just the cruelty of the claims. It was the speed with which the unfounded echoes multiplied, creating a fog so dense it felt designed to smother her voice before she could even speak. The origin of this smear was as abrupt as it was ruthless. Within a single afternoon, timelines filled with accusations that had no substance, no proof, just repetition. Her name slid into long, breathless threads, where speculation dressed itself as certainty. Comments appeared faster than anyone could read them, and copied posts spawned even more copies, as if the truth could be outpaced by sheer volume. The reality of who Hazal is, intelligent, meticulous with her privacy, and measured with her words, was pushed to the sidelines while a louder fiction tried to take center stage. At first, Hazal did what many people do when the world turns too loud: she chose silence, hoping the noise would burn itself out. Her quiet isn't the quiet of surrender, and those who have watched her grow know that well. It was the quiet of someone refusing to dignify slander with attention. But then the storm expanded. The pressure wasn't just online, it seeped offline, into her days, into the smallest routines. Emotional strain, the kind that steals sleep and stillness, began to shape her hours. So she made a decision that looked, from the outside, like retreat. In truth, it was a boundary. She stepped back. She let a little distance in. She reclaimed a breath. For an artist who has spent years building a career on discipline, craft, and respect, on set and off, it was a painful pivot. But it was also a human one. This wasn't a show of weakness. It was a refusal to be pulled into a mud fight. When a person's integrity is dragged, uninvited, into the public square, regaining control sometimes means closing the window and drawing the curtain. Those who know Hazal understood. Those who didn't, learned. Amid the swirl, one figure moved toward her, quiet but unmistakable: Cagatai. Known for his self-contained grace and the kind of steadiness that doesn't need a spotlight, he chose not to issue dramatic statements or rehearse for the cameras. He made phone calls. He sent messages. He appeared at her door when the house felt too silent. He brought conversation when the night stretched long. He kept showing up, consistently enough that his presence itself spoke louder than any speech. According to people close to the two, their contact was unwavering: check-ins at dawn, encouraging notes in the middle of a crowded day, a gentle joke when a smile seemed like a faraway country. One phrase he shared, relayed by someone who witnessed the moment, lingered in the air with the gentle firmness of someone who understands both fame's glow and its burn. Lies float for a while, he told her, but truth has a way of sinking anchor. Hold your ground. You have nothing to hide and everything to reclaim. It wasn't a slogan, it was a promise, a reminder that durability belongs to what's real, and neither algorithms nor trends can rewrite that. When photographers finally caught the two of them together during a quiet, unannounced meeting, social media erupted, not with the frenzied accusations of days prior, but with a burst of solidarity. In minutes, feeds turned into a cascade of support. People praised the steadiness of his loyalty and the grace with which she carried herself through confusion she didn't create. A new tide began to form, marking the beginning of a necessary correction. Hashtags flew across X and Instagram, and among them, one rose above the rest: #Hazal is not alone. It wasn't just a slogan, it was a collective hand on her shoulder. Colleagues, co-stars, directors, crew members, and longtime fans all wrote to her in public, insisting that a person is not a headline and a career is not a rumor. In a world where speed often beats sense, empathy made a comeback. But beyond the clattering feeds and flashing stories lies a more complicated terrain, one that experts have struggled to explain in a way that fully captures its weight. Psychologists and media observers have been sounding the alarm for years. When defamation goes viral, it doesn't behave like ordinary gossip. It clings to a person's sense of safety. It invades, pressing for explanations, demanding shows of innocence. It builds a courtroom where there is no judge, only spectators. Even those with thick armor feel the blade. The pressure to answer for something you didn't do can, paradoxically, make you feel like you did something wrong. And when you love your craft, when you live among cameras and scripts and bright sets, the fear that all of it could be stained by a story you never asked for becomes hard to articulate. In Hazal's case, whose career is a map of daring choices and elegant performances, the potential damage can't be measured in likes or shares. It's measured in auditions that never get offered, in scripts that take detours, in rooms that grow quiet as you walk in. That is why the choice to step away, to take stock with family and with someone she trusts deeply, became not only understandable but vital. Those close to her say she has been consulting with legal advisors, taking careful notes, saving screenshots, collecting dates and times, even tracing the path of certain posts back to their starting points. She isn't doing it to fan the flames. She's doing it to set a line in the sand. If the evidence continues to form a coherent picture, as early reports suggest, it may open the door to a formal complaint. Not for the spectacle of a trial, but for a different kind of precedent, one that says you cannot target a person's reputation without consequence. The entertainment industry depends on trust, between actors and directors, between producers and audiences, between storytellers and the truth. When that trust is undermined by a smear that spreads like ink in water, it's not only the individual who pays the price. A rulebook needs to exist, and sometimes it takes a brave case to write it. Through it all, Cagatai's presence has stayed steady, a heartbeat that doesn't quicken just because cameras are close. He isn't parading their bond for applause. He isn't bartering kindness for headlines. What he's offering is a kind of solidarity that many admire but few manage to sustain when it's not convenient. Off-screen, the two share a rhythm built over years of navigating fame's maze. People close to them say that in the quiet moments, they laugh at things only they understand, sharing stories that have never seen the press. They think ahead together, they strategize together, and, right now, they hold the line together. Images surfacing this week showed small, luminous details, him walking half a step behind as she moved through a crowd, not to hide her, but to shield her from a lens that could turn any expression into fodder, coffee arriving at her door before the sun. A car idling around the block so she could take as long as she needed to breathe between one room and the next. None of these are grand gestures, but strung together, they create a portrait of what it means to care for someone in a world that can mistake a person for a brand. The audience of Turkish Spotlight Secrets has been watching with an intensity that tells its own story. Many of you have grown up with their work, trusted them to bring life to characters, and rooted for them when the lights go out. You've sent messages, debated in the comments, demanded fairness in the same forceful tones the internet usually reserves for jokes and feuds. Your voices matter, not because you can change the past, but because you can set the tone for what comes next. Are we witnessing a strategic attempt to derail a woman at the peak of her power? Or is this just another ruthless example of how easily a rumor can dress like fact when the world's attention is sun-dazed and scrolling? Tell us what you think. Your words have weight here. Share your perspective below and be part of this conversation, one that asks for responsibility, not rage. And if you want to stay close to this story as it unfolds, new statements, legal turns, replies from the inner circle, and updates on how she's truly doing. Make sure you're subscribed to Turkish Spotlight Secrets. Turn on notifications for instant alerts so you don't miss a beat. If you'd like to help us keep telling these nuanced, deeply human stories from the Turkish entertainment world, consider joining our members. Your support lets us do this work with care and patience. As the hours pass, the path ahead becomes clearer. silence, as wise as it has been, won't last forever. Hazal will speak. The statement she's preparing isn't expected to be theatrical. It will be concise, precise, and, if our understanding is correct, backed by a spine of verifiable data. The moment it lands, the narrative will shift. That change won't erase what happened, but it will redraw the lines between what was spun and what is real. For those who have been watching closely, that moment will feel less like a twist and more like an overdue correction. Meanwhile, the light of solidarity continues to shine. Cagatay's support stands as proof that a real bond, built in everyday moments and tested under bright lights, can hold firm when speculation tries to shatter it. In a business that can sometimes reward dramatics and punish restraint, his quiet resolve has been a lesson. It suggests that loyalty, patience, and consistency are worth more than any temporary spike in attention. And it reminds us that beyond the roles, beyond the glossy images, there are people whose lives are shaped by the same needs we all have: to be seen accurately, to be treated fairly, to be loved without condition. This whole episode has pulled back a curtain we often ignore. In an age run by speed, clarity can be hard to find. But there are still defenders of truth, and there is still a community willing to circle around someone when that truth is under attack. There's power in that, a power the rumor-mongers never predict. The echo chamber is loud, yes. But it is not the only room in the house. Here at Turkish Spotlight Secrets, we'll be watching every step with respect. When the statement arrives, you'll hear it here first. When the legal picture comes into focus, we'll explain what it truly means. We'll follow the replies, the retractions, the apologies if they come, the reflections if they don't, and the real-world effects on someone who has given the industry some of its most memorable work. We'll keep our eye not just on the spectacle but on the human story at the core. Thank you for watching, for listening closely, and for being part of a community that understands the difference between drama for screens and compassion for people. We'll see you in the next video. Until then, take care, stay kind, and remember, the truth does not rush, but it does arrive.